Still working on the window. Had to move the door back to give myself enough gap right here and here, because when you roll that up and down, not quite enough to clearance it right here. So not quite as good as I'd like to see it, and I don't like the felt that they supplied with the kit. I mean, I realize they gotta find what's available on the market, and to make something generic to fit every car is impossible, so you kind of get a generic looking piece. So I think I'm going to make a trip to the junkyard this weekend and look at a couple cars. There's a couple different styles that I could choose from that would work pretty nice here. I went to my friend's shop last night, and they got a couple doors in the junk pile, and I seen some good ideas. And I think all said and done, I'm going to end up shaving this glass down on this side, because this gap from here to here is really wide, and it's tight here and tight here. So if I open that up, that's going to give me lots of room to play with, and it's going to fit better. So, but now at the moment I got to get the regulator inside and see if it'll roll up and down under power. And I have to put the regulator in a different spot, because when the window does go down, and man, I had to work to make sure that glass didn't rub up against the door right there. There was so much involved in getting that glass to go down as far as it does. And that's it. That's as far as it goes. Still sticking up right here. But yeah, at that point, when it is down that far, putting the regulator in the spot where the bracket, it's going to bang up against the window when it's still up quite a ways. So I'll see if I can move that over there. Okay, I got the regulator suspended in there where I want it to go. It's a much more natural spot for it than down here anyway. It's going to go right in the middle of that beam. It's going to be clearance here for the door card. And this cable comes right up along the top here, up over the pulley. No bind, no twist. Comes right down in here, and then same thing here. That should be a good spot for it. So there's the regulator where I'm thinking it's going to go. Cables are going to line up, no bind. That should go pretty good. And that's what it looks like. Get that welded in there and painted up. And I think the only thing at this point is making sure I have clearance right here. I think I'm going to have to put a piece of steel in there. Keep that straight. So I don't want the door card to look like it's bent in there either. Well, I went to the glass shop yesterday. I was hoping to get the glass shaved down right here, but it took the guy about 1 second to tell me no. Cannot shave down tempered glass, so it'll blow up. So, time to move on. Cut this post right here. Move that out. Now I've got room in the opening, and the glass fits the opening better. And I'm not going to tie that down yet. I'm going to go to the junkyard tomorrow and look for some seals to go down here. Something more factory looking. They make a couple different types. Ones that'll attach down inside and tuck up against the window. Some that attach right here on the top. So there's a couple different ideas, and then a channel. There's all kinds of different channels out there which will hug both sides of that glass and you know, give the glass a route to go up and down in. And if I go with that channel down here, it'll also go down on the inside, which will keep it stable up and down in one spot. And again, if I put the channel here, I'll end up building that out with fiberglass to hide that. So we'll see what happens. Other than that, that's kind of where the glass is going to go. It's nice and tight. Hugs up against that seal real nicely. And it's in a pretty natural position to where when it wants to go up and down, it stops right there where it belongs. So that's looking good so far. Yeah, now here's the the window felt that I got, the moldings. And what I've done to it, I'm trying to make this work. I don't know if it will work. That's what the stock piece looks like. This is what my piece looks like. I cut into that, not on this part because that's where the felt is, where the window rolls against. But on this side, I cut into that aluminum in different places where I want it to bend, and where I want it to bend is right here. And then carefully got that to move by holding it here and here, of course, and you know, a rubber mallet, a little bit of pressure, a little bit of massaging. And then that'll go in there like that. It's going to have a nice end on it, you know, which makes it look more factory, less kit car. And I got to get a way to attach it from the inside, so I'm kind of working on that. And then I have the spare piece I cut off on the inside, kind of getting that mocked up where I want it. Still going to have a little bit of windows sticking out, which I can live with. It'll be okay. It's going to have to be. And here's some of the track. I think this was out of a Datsun pickup, or a Mazda pickup. And then I had to bend that piece to fit the contour of the glass, and I'm still working on that. But hopefully when it's all done, this will be encased, and all you'll see is that felt inside of there. The window will roll up and down to where it'll go inside of that felt. I think I'm going to go to back to the wrecking yard and try and find a different seal which is made to fit for a window going up in it. And I'm also going to look for a different door seal, which has more of a factory look and is going to be wider, thicker, so I can actually seal the door when it shuts. And that's what I'm up to now. Well, I did some good this morning, and as you can see, there's no glass. I got it all the way tucked down in there, and it's looking like it's going to work pretty good. I got this still sitting here. I got to get that in there permanently, but I just have it sitting there, make sure it's going to work. And There's the glass sitting in there. I got it to come down just even with the edge of that felt, so should be good to go. I had to make a bracket here, move this arm again, and make it more solid so it doesn't move around, because I had to hog that bracket out in there for the glass to fit down inside, and also a little bit over here for the slider to go up and down. And I'll get some stops put on here. I'll weld a chunk of metal that gets in the way of this thing going down. Once I know the final spot, I'll do the same thing on both sides. They do have an adjustable stop on the top, and I would imagine in the Corvettes they have something to stop the thing. Must hit up against the glass, a rubber stopper on the bottom of it or something. So I'll put some stoppers on those tracks, and I'll have to open that up a little more, and I'll probably put some rubber inside there, because if that glass touches that metal at all, it's going to explode. So that has to be pretty sturdy where it's not going to move, and if it does move, the clearance needs to be there so that thing don't explode. But it should be just fine. I'm happy I got that to go all the way down in there, and it rolls up and down under power. And I have to put a little they make, you know, different cars have different guides. I'm going to go to the wrecking yard, find a different one. This one almost does it. But I'll put it inside that track somehow so the window goes up. It needs just a little bit of help to get over this edge right here. And then once it's in the right spot, it rolls right up where it should. So looking good. Yes, there's a lot of guys trying to figure out how to do this stuff. I figured I'd show this. You know, I put these holes in there so there'll be a bond from underneath and on top, kind of sandwich it. And put holes on this side because that's how it's going to be underneath the door. And I don't want that peeling loose. So I want the best chances possible. Make that aluminum a sandwich from underneath to on top, and picked out a couple pieces because I'm going to put this on the bottom here before I even put this aluminum strip down on it, just to help fill in some of the voids and create a little better bond. So I picked out a couple pieces that'll meet that distance. And you want to get that fiberglass wet with the resin before you even start. Then put the matting on, or get it soaked first and put it in there. And tamp it all in there so there's no air bubbles. And then I'll put this aluminum on there and then start putting more pieces over the top of it. Keeping it wet, tamping it in there. I use like an acid brush and just keep tap, tap, tap all the way across, and that just works it in and gets the bubbles out of it, rather than trying to brush it or move it, because it's always going to mess it up. If you just tap on it, it'll keep the mat from trying to move around. And I'll use these pieces just to go over it a couple times, and then after I'm all done, I'll end up with a whole bunch of this little hair everywhere, and I'll throw the rest of that in my resin and make like a paste. And then on this side, I'll just kind of tap in some of that paste and try and help bond this outer edge right here also. So we'll see how it turns out. And now I have it all glassed in there. Looks pretty good. Takes some practice to be able to put that stuff on there without making a huge mess. And You know, it's almost as if you want to do the whole process, you know, getting the bracket underneath everything, have the vice grips right where they're handy, put them on, and pretty much go through the whole process before you even mix up the fiberglass, because if you don't have every step down, you're going to be fighting the glass. It's going to be a mess. It's going to harden up before you're done. And you know, you can see some of the matting is up over the edge a little bit down here, and you don't worry about that. You just leave that there, and after it dries up, you just take your grinder and face that off again, and I might even buzz across a couple of these little hairs, you know, and just smooth that up. And otherwise, I got the bottom of it nice and wet, so that all lays down and makes like a nice little gel. And it's all sandwiched in there, and you know, it's not going to be strong enough to stand on it, but I'm thinking that should be held in there well enough to hold that piece of rubber trim on there, you know, and not worrying about it popping off, you know, a year down the road and having to worry about taking it apart and repair it again. So that should be okay like that. Yeah, I'm getting ready to get this thing tacked back up on here. I just ground a couple of spots, held it in place, spaced it from the glass, make sure that was going to be good. And now I'm going to go from the back side. I got my pieces all cut up, ground it down, sanded it pretty good back there, so get ready to glass that. And went to the wrecking yard today. A couple different types of seals and stuff, trying to figure out something for the door to go around here. And I brought home some stuff. Look at options up here too, but I like the looks of this better so far. You know, I just got done putting glass on there, and you know, I'd already done the inside of it, and that just kind of acts like a backing. Make sure the back of it's reinforced, and then once that's dry, you come around the front and grind all that out, all the voids, clear down to the back of it where you're into the fresh fiberglass. So basically you can't see any air holes, you can't see any cracks or voids once you ground through from this side, and then it's, you know, going to sandwich together with no voids in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put some heat on that. I use a heat gun, get that pretty darn hot. The whole time you're kind of working it, making sure there's air bubbles stay out. I can see a couple of tiny little air bubbles there. And sometimes the fiberglass wants to come away from the surface, so you just you have to keep working that while it hardens up, and by putting heat on it, it kicks it off quick. So that's what I'll do next. Well, I got the door and the window pretty much set up. I'll show you how it rolls up pretty good. And it sits in a pretty good spot when it's there. And I got kind of a wide gap all the way around because I want to get a different rubber, but it actually sits pretty good the way it is. I got even tension all the way around, and it rolls up and down the way it should. And when it rolls down, it goes right to the top of this seal, so the glass pretty much goes away. These are off of a 92 Bonneville 4-door. One's for the front, one's for the back, and then I got the left and the right. That's what they look like. And I got them off the car, and I got to clean them up. But I had to put a little slice in it and then bend it a little bit for right here. And then as far as mounting them, you know, you saw how I made that bracket on the inside. And then on the outside, or the inside part, I made some tabs riveted on, and then it comes up from the back. And I made it to where these things just slide in there. Sticks it on there. And I'm going to have to build the door, that lip out, because I want that seal up tight up against the window. So I'll build that lip outward where it's up against that molding, and that looks good. And I'm going to bring this edge out to the end of this molding, because that's where it comes when you shut the door. And I'll fill that in to make that look better. And I'll put a piece of rubber around here to seal up that hole, just down flat, so it goes in, and then the slice in between there. On the outside I'll build that out too. And you know, that window goes all the way down in there. It doesn't touch the glass. I had to bend the track here. I got this really solid, so you know, there's not much tolerance when the glass is down in there, so I wanted these tracks to be really tight so they don't move, and that's good. And they did the same thing down here, tied that in solid. And I'll get rid of this bracket here, finish welding this bracket that mounts that on there, get it all painted up again. And I gotta find maybe something that's a little better seal up here. It's really thin. Tried lots of different designs, making a track back here. Different rubbers go up here, and I just don't like the looks of it. I like the open frame. No frame, in other words, around that window, because that's how the front glass is going to be. That's how the side glass and the rear glass all is. So just want to keep the theme of no molding, no seal up here. So lots of work still, but that's a big accomplishment, getting that window where it's tight in there, where the door shuts, where the window rolls up and down. It's quite the challenge, but it looks pretty good.